In Small Island, Levy never portrays any characters or events simplistically. She's determined to provide a realistic representation of life in post-war Britain, even if that makes us feel uncomfortable at times because we find our evaluation of characters being shifted or challenged. Her representation of Bernard is no exception. In many ways, he represents the arrogant, racist, bigoted aspects of British society. We could list several moments where he rigidly refuses to bend in response to Queenie's attempts to remove the traditional barriers and constraints of class or race. Look at his response when Queenie is sympathetic to the lower class victims of London's Blitz. Any help she offers them, in practical terms, especially when it entails offering goods or property or allowing them to encroach geographically on what was previously considered to be an upper class neighbourhood, is very much resented by Bernard. Levy uses Bernard's resentment at this point to highlight that the Blitz was not quite as harmonious as the rose-tinted images of camaraderie, solidarity and cohesion that popular culture would have us believe. The class prejudices that existed before the war are not immediately broken down in the face of the threat of German bombs. When it comes to it, Bernard and his chums have little compassion for those they consider to be intrinsically different and other. On the other hand, you could argue that Bernard has redeeming characteristics, and always try to argue the less expected side of an argument in an exam if you can as well. Towards the end of the novel, while he's at war in India, he actually seems to come to life, doesn't he? He's not quite the same Bernard we knew at the bank back in Blighty. The process of fighting alongside his peers seems to stir up a loyalty and a compassion and a sense of passion that we would barely have thought him capable of. Does the change in environment give a glimmer of hope that there's something of value beneath the blank and often silent facade of the repressed Bernard? When he eventually returns, he actually displays a degree of forgiveness, or at least acceptance, of Queenie's infidelity with Michael, and goes on to propose that they could bring up the mixed-race baby together. He might be naive and ignorant of the reality of what he's proposing, and yes, he is ultimately guilty of the hideously racist outbursts towards Gilbert, but Levy could perhaps be presenting us with a flawed human being who is not wholly evil, but very much the construct of his time and culture. If you found that useful, then like it, share it, and subscribe to English Gorillas.